Hi, I'm Taylor, and I am a second-year MPH student at Columbia University. One of the most common questions that I get asked is, how much is it to go to grad school? How much is it to live in New York? How much is it to get an MPH? How much is it to go to Columbia? So I have finally decided to put together a video talking about the costs. I have all my numbers up on my very elaborate Excel sheet, and yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to start by giving the disclaimer that this is all my personal experience, my personal finances to a certain degree, and that you should always talk to your financial aid advisor at the program you're looking to attend. Now, I personally have chosen to fund the majority of my education through student loans. Now, that is a choice that many people balk at. I have just always viewed education as an investment in yourself, and therefore if you have to take out a decent chunk of student loans to get your grad school degree, then that's what you have to do. And at the grad level, it's a little bit harder to find scholarships than at the undergrad level, just because there's fewer of them. So definitely always look for scholarships and look for alternatives to not have to take out as much loans as possible. But I have taken out the full amount of loans the entire time that I've been at Columbia. So with that in mind, the award that I get each semester is about $34,000. So that's what is put onto my account. And then about $21,000 of that is paid to the school for tuition and fees. So 2/3 of it goes to tuition and fees. And like I said, this is for Columbia. So this is directly from my student accounts page, login. And so for Columbia Master's in Public Health program full-time, tuition is about $21,000 per semester. Now, the rest of that gets dispersed to me, so that's about $10,000 to $11,000. And so with that, I then, as soon as I get my disbursement, I sit down and with my very elaborate Excel sheet, I figure out how much is going where, as far as I plan out all of my bills and fixed expenses, fixed monthly expenses. So rent, utilities, things like Metro, things that I have to pay every month and aren't going to vary too much. And so I plan all those out. And so those expenses times half a year, so 6 months, is about $8,700. So then that gets subtracted from that amount. And then what I'm left with is what I have for my monthly budget. And so I kind of figure out what that would look like per month over 6 months, because keep in mind that $34,000 is for one semester. So while you're not in school for the whole 6 months, I still budget it for 6 months because you still have to live when you're not going to school. So my fall usually gets dispersed to me around September, and it covers all my rent through till January, February. And then spring picks up from there until August. So what I'm left with there, I kind of figure out what it looks like for a monthly budget. And so what's left in this situation is about $4,000, but it works out nicely to have about $500 per month, and that's been pretty reasonable. So $500 per month in variable monthly expenses. So groceries, just random stopping at Starbucks, or random shopping things, variable things that you can kind of adjust a little bit, oh, I don't have as much, or I had some sort of unexpected expense, so I don't have as much in my budget, so let me be a little bit more frugal at the grocery store or something like that. So I separate those variable and fixed monthly expenses into 2 separate bank accounts. So I have my one bank account that all my bills go come out of automatically, and so those are like the fixed ones. So I make sure that I have my 8,700, probably like 88 to be sure, in that bank, and then I move the rest of it, so in this case like 3,000, into a separate bank account. And so that way, when I'm just swiping away, like at, you know, Starbucks or Dwayne Reed or wherever, I'm not accidentally spending my bill money. So especially towards the end of that like 6-month period, that's especially important. So let's look a little bit more at like what those break down to. So in my fixed monthly expenses, I obviously have rent. My apartment, which is a 2-bedroom in very upper Manhattan, is about $12.19 a month, and that's my half. So total it's 24 something. So all of these like monthly bills are split in half. So if I were paying for this 2-bedroom apartment by myself, we would double all those numbers. But my expenses are 12 for the rent, and then I budget about 65 for electricity per month. So if you double that, that's a lot. That's like 130 bucks. So our electricity is almost never that much, but I always over budget rather than under budget. Then of course there's your internet, Wi-Fi, gotta have that, especially as a student. And so that is $23.74 for my half of it, and that's the same every month and never changes. And then we also have a security system in our apartment, and so I pay $17.50 for that part. And finally, with the like fixed expenses is my Metro card, which the 30-day unlimited Metro card in New York City is $127. And so that brings the fixed monthly total to $1452.49. So that's the like hopefully maximum that I have to pay every month. And then what I'm not really including here, but is a reality, is that I do have some credit card debt that I also have to pay the minimums on that every month. And so I also include that in my fixed expenses, but for the purposes of like understanding general costs, I'm just sticking with the actual bills. So the other part was the variable costs. So I went through and gathered my expenses for the last like 3 weeks, so almost a month. This is the what I spent in a month part. So a lot of coffee, a lot of cafe. There are some bus trips thrown in there from buying bus fare back and forth from Boston, just random, you know, like pizza or McDonald's here or there. I have an eating out addiction problem, so that's in there every once in a while. I try to be really good about it. And then also, you know, like Valentine's Day is coming up, so I have that my gift in there that I bought, as well as the other like financially painful addiction that I have is Ubers. Sometimes you just really don't feel like taking the train, however much I love not having to worry about having a car here. So occasionally I will take an Uber here or there. So yeah, those get thrown in there every once in a while. And then obviously like groceries, Trader Joe's, sometimes Dwayne Reed, I'll stop for a snack. Dwayne Reed is like Walgreens, other places, but in New York it's called Dwayne Reed. And so that brought my spending total to, with all of those transactions, I also have like American Eagle in there because I want a new scarf, and that brought my total expenses to $361.28. So with that $500 spending budget, I'm coming pretty under budget here. So if we round it up to about 400, and that was for 3 weeks, so I should definitely still be under the 500 by the end of that 4th week for that budgeting purposes. So going back to that like total and like the breakdown of what gets taken out from my financial aid that I get, I'm left with about $1,000 to put into savings or to put towards the credit cards. So that is what I do with that, as well as working. So if you've seen any of my videos from over the summer, I was working like 2-3 jobs. One of them was just a minimum wage job at a coffee shop, and so minimum wage in New York City is $15 an hour. I worked my internship at the biotech company, which I luckily got more than minimum wage for. And then I also TA'd. I was a teaching assistant last semester, and depending on, at Columbia, the way Columbia does it, depending on what class you're TAing for, you get paid different amounts, because some classes don't go the whole semester, some classes have more kind of work that goes into them. Like some classes you have to lead sessions, like you're actually teaching a little session, and so those classes you get paid a little bit more for. But I think it ranges anywhere from about $2,200 for the semester to $4,000, maybe even higher, depending on like the lead TAs and things like that. So you also get, if you are at a school that has paid TA-ships, or just any sort of thing like that, that's definitely another great way to sort of get money to supplement some of those costs. The other thing that I didn't mention before is part of that $34,000 that I get dispersed to my account is $5,000 of that, $2,500 of that, because it's $5,000 for the year. $2,500 of that is a scholarship that I received from Columbia. I didn't have to do any extra application for it. I did, however, it's a need-based scholarship, which you could only get if you entered your parents' information into your FAFSA. So yeah, I also have that in there, but that just kind of all comes with my financial aid, and so it's not anything separate that I have to do there. And when I say that the $34,000 is dispersed to my account, $34,000 is never in my bank account. Like the 10 is, so like after they take out tuition and things like that. So yeah, I hope that this has been helpful. I personally, I know that it's a lot of money. I know that watching this might make a lot of people very frightened to sort of think about paying for grad school, especially in New York City. But I personally think that it's worth it. Like I said, I view education as an investment in your future. So by investing this not insignificant amount of money into your education now, you can make so much more later. You have so many more job opportunities, especially at Columbia. There are so many connections, and there is just so many opportunities in New York City in general. So I don't regret a single penny of the loans that I've taken out. Don't get me wrong, it is very stressful to think about. It is, I'm not excited for the day that I have to start paying them back. But I do think that in the long run, it is worth it. So yeah, I hope that this has been helpful. Like I said, I'm not a financial aid officer, but I will help answer any questions about my personal financial experience going to Columbia, living in New York City, all the things like that. I'm happy to answer any of those questions if you all still have them. If you like this video and want me to keep making more like informational videos like this, please be sure to let me know. Give it a like, comment, message me on Instagram, whatever you feel like. So yeah, see you next time.